Oh, and your P card there? Is it all in your P card? No. Is that ready to sign off?
Oh, there we go. All right. Is that too loud? I'll try not to yell at people. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the 2018 Women of Distinction Alumni Panel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Deidre Davis, the Dean of Student Services, and your MC for the event today. As part of MMA's celebration of Women's History Month, we've invited an amazing group of MMA graduates to talk with you today. These women have helped to lay the foundation for what our women students are able to accomplish today in the classroom, on the athletic fields, on the basketball and other courts, in the regiment, aboard ships, and ashore. I'm so pleased to see such a big crowd here today. This event seems to get bigger and bigger every year, and it's great to see so many students, faculty, staff, as well as members of the Board of Trustees. So thank you all for being here. President, Mrs. Brennan, thank you for being here as well. Before introducing you to the panelists, I'd like to say thank you to several people who have made this event possible. First, our College Relations Department, Deanna Yoakum and Jen DeJoy, who delivered all our advertising materials. From the IT department, Brian Wolf in the back, who is live streaming this so that maybe we have some female recruiting students that are watching. Maybe somebody's mom is watching. And if they're not watching live, it'll be recorded and they can go to the Maine Maritime YouTube channel and watch it later. So thank you, Brian, for helping with us with that. And to our conferences department, Rachel Iannoli for arranging all the details. And finally, to all the members of the Women's History Committee to arrange several events this month. So hopefully you'll not only be here, but at our other events that we'll be advertising as well. Lastly, I'd like to thank President Brennan and Rhonda for allowing us to have the panelists here at the same time as the Board of Trustees. When I was planning this event, Lindsay Smith, Lindsay's here on the end, Lindsay ships and has a really busy career, as does everybody here. But Lindsay was like my big score for this event, and so she's getting ready to head back out to sea, and so I scheduled it on March 1st, period, that was it. And then I realized that the Board of Trustees was going to be here, and so I went to the President's office with my tail between my legs and said, I may have made a major conflict, and but he was on board and said, no, this is great, you know, we'll have a chance to meet with the trustees and bring some students to dinner with the trustees and the panelists, so I think it's turned out to be a great opportunity for everybody. So just so you kind of know how we'll do things today, the first 30 to 45 minutes, we'll ask the panelists to answer questions. I have some prepared questions for them, and we'll ask 3 people to answer each of the questions, and certainly anybody else can chime in if they think that there's something important they'd like to add to that. And then we'll open the floor to questions for the rest of you for the next 30 or so minutes. So we'll finish by 5:30. Obviously, we want everybody to stay till the very last end, but certainly if you have to leave for any reason, you know, we won't be offended. We'll thank you for coming regardless of how long you stay. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our panelists. I have them in alphabetical order on my sheets here, but they're not in alphabetical order up there. So if you would raise your hand as I start to introduce, so that people can associate a name with a face, that'd be great. Linda Dowdy. Linda received her degree in marine science in 2008. She's a marine mammal biologist with over 18 years of experience conducting marine mammal response, monitoring, and research in collaboration with governmental agencies, universities, and other research groups. Linda started out by volunteering for a marine mammal group. She is the founding, executive director for Marine Mammals of Maine, which she began in 2011. She manages all aspects of the day-to-day operations of the organization, ensures funding sources, writes grants, manages staff and volunteers, performs animal exams, and does diagnostic testing. She has provided medical care for thousands of animals, has opened Maine's only medical facility for seals, and looks forward to providing for more marine mammals in Maine. Her work has her traveling for marine mammals to various regions of the country, conducting necropsies, disentanglement, population studies, tagging studies, disease research, ghost gear recovery, and marine debris projects. Her team focuses on human impacts and environmental change on marine mammals in the Gulf of Maine. In addition, Linda has sterned on lobster boats for many years. She serves on the board of directors for the Phippsburg Land Trust. She is recognized, or was recognized, by the Portland Press Herald in 2014 as one of 10 Mainers to be thankful for. While at MMA, she was a member of the women's basketball team. Her connections continue at Maine Maritime, as she's had family members who have attended and currently attend, and for the last several years, some of MMA students have interned with her organization. Ladies and gentlemen, Linda Dowdy. Kristen Gabor graduated in 2007 with a degree in marine biology and was a 3-year recipient of the Shield Scholar Award. Following graduation, she completed her PhD in functional genomics at the University of Maine and subsequently took a position as a postdoctoral fellow at the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina. In 2017, she joined ROW, a contract research organization where she currently works as an integrated product development associate. Kristen contributes to the format, design, and direction of clinical studies and statistical reports, and also writes documents for submission to regulatory authorities. During her time at MMA, Kristen was a 4-year member of the women's soccer program, which she continues to play in Durham, North Carolina, where she now resides with her 13-year-old English cream golden retriever and her best buddy, Pups. Side note, Kristen is also training to run the Boston Marathon. Kristen Gabor. Leah Jackson. Leah graduated magna cum laude in 2014 with a degree in international business and logistics and a minor in humanities and social science. For the last 3 years, Leah has worked at Sappi Fine Paper North America at the Somerset Mill as an operations planner in their supply chain development. Leah is responsible for planning the operational runs for 3 major paper machines, managing inventory for 2 warehouses, scheduling 6 production winder schedules, as well as responding to inquiries from inside sales representatives. During her time at MMA, Leah was a standout 2-sport athlete competing in softball and basketball. She was named the Conference Defensive Player of the Year and the Conference Player of the Year in softball between the 2011 and 2013 seasons. In basketball, she was both an all-academic and all-conference selection. Leah's unmatched efforts earned her the Female Athlete of the Year 3 times. Leah resides in Winslow, Maine with her wife, Megan, and their 2 rescue dogs, Summit and Alpine. Yolanda McKibbergen. Did I say that right? All right. Yolanda graduated from MMA in 1999 with a degree in ocean studies. For all of you that aren't aware, before we became marine biology and marine science majors, we were one program called Ocean Studies. So for those of you that didn't know that. Yolanda has worked in quality control with several different companies in the area of biologics, engineering, and rare diseases. She is currently the Associate Director of Quality Control at an interfering RNA pharmaceutical company in Cambridge, Mass. She leads a department focused on ensuring the quality of medicines intended for use in patients with rare liver express diseases such as amyloidosis. I spelled all this stuff out phonetically. Porphyria and hemophilia. During her spare time, she loves to practice photography, hang out with her 2 dogs, Freya and Soya. She loves to cook and read. She is also passionate about volunteering. Yolanda. Carrie Plord Norton. Carrie graduated in 2006 with a degree in marine transportation operations and a minor in marine science. Following graduation, Carrie obtained her Master's of Science degree studying global supply chain management at the Loeb Sullivan School of Business right here at Maine Maritime. After graduation, she took a position as third mate dynamic positioning operator with Edison West Offshore. Her most memorable experience at ECO was when she took command of a master, delivering a fast crew vessel from Port Fourchon, Louisiana to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. She performed inspections, piloted various offshore supply vessels in and out of heavily trafficked Port Fourchon, and witnessed upgrades and pre-commissioning testing for a variety of equipment. Carrie moved from ECO to ENSCO in 2011. She was stationed in Brazil and performed duties as both third and second mate aboard ENSCO DS4, a sixth-generation drill ship. Following her work on DS4, she worked in Goji, South Korea, to oversee ENSCO DS8 drill ship startup project. Carrie is currently stationed in Angola. She is responsible for the daily operation, monitoring, maintenance, and testing of all marine, dynamic positioning, and safety equipment aboard the ENSCO DS8. She currently holds a U.S. Coast Guard Unlimited Chief Mate license. During her time at MMA, Carrie was involved in student government, varsity sailing. Carrie resides in Cape Elizabeth, Maine, with her husband Mike and her son Bennett. Mike is also a 2003, did I say that right? 2003 IBL graduate. Carrie Ford. Christy Rizzatello. Christy graduated in 1999 with a degree in ocean studies. Following graduation, Christy returned to Boston near her hometown and began a career path in business, office management, and human resources. Christy returned to Maine and received her professional human resources certification in 2009 while working as an HR generalist with R.H. Foster in Hamden. Christy then spent 5 years at home, raising her two children, Sophia and Salvatore. Sophia is here today in the front row. Welcome, Sophia. While volunteering and pursuing another love, instructing fitness and spin classes. In 2015, Christy and her husband Angelo, who's a fellow graduate, 1999 with a degree in marine engineering operations, opened their own training facility in Dexter called The Outlet. They specialize in mixed martial arts training. The Outlet offers youth and adult classes in Taekwondo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in addition to cardio HIIT classes that are led by Christy. In addition to running the Outlet, Christy returned to the HR field in 2015, accepting a role at the Equal Opportunity Office at the University of Maine. Today, Christy is a Human Resources Administration Manager for CM Alumnae in Pittsfield, Maine. She serves as part of a management group and oversees approximately 80 employees who manufacture clergy apparel and church goods. Christy Rizzatello. Elena Schweitzer. She may look familiar to you. Elena graduated from MMA in 2005 with a degree in marine engineering operations, and in 2012 earned her master's in global logistics and maritime management. Elena worked on board commercial shipping vessels as a third assistant engineer and in the Boston area as a technical superintendent with V-Ships USA as a world leader in vessel management. In 2014, Elena became Professor Schweitzer when she accepted a position as professor of management here at Maine Maritime. Her teaching and research interests are in organizational development and change, global sourcing and procurement negotiations, maritime and port management, and industrial manufacturing. Professor Schweitzer currently lives in Bucksport with her husband Andrew, a 2003 MAT graduate, and her two children, Leif and Lyra. Elena Schweitzer. Lindsay Smith. Lindsay graduated in 2000 with a degree in marine engineering technology and a minor in mathematics. During her time at the academy, Lindsay was a charter member of the women's basketball program, where she was a three-time captain. Lindsay's leadership and abilities were clear to all, earning her the well-deserved honor of being named the Academy's first ever female cadet chief engineer aboard our training ship. Following graduation, Lindsay went to work for Transocean Deepwater Drilling. There she was responsible for maintaining the proper operation of the engineering plant. In 2003, Lindsay joined Norwegian Cruise Lines. There she was part of a startup team, bringing the first large US-flagged cruise ship back to Hawaii. Poor thing. As part of the Norwegian Cruise Line, Lindsay has been responsible for the installation. Sorry, I skipped a line. In 2005, Lindsay went to Germany as part of the site team to help oversee the completion, commissioning, and delivery of the third and final U.S. flag cruise ship to sail Hawaii. As part of Norwegian Cruise Line, Lindsay has been responsible for the installation of exhaust gas scrubbers, installation of a new restaurant, and 32 cabins aboard her ship. In 2014, Lindsay was promoted to chief engineer, becoming the first female chief engineer in the entire cruise line industry in the United States. In 2015, Lindsay was inducted into MMA's Athletic Hall of Fame. She currently resides in Kingston, New Hampshire. Lindsay Smith. Jessica Webb. Wave, Jess. Jess graduated in 2008 with a degree in Power Engineering Technology. Since earning her degree, Jessica has worked with Emera Maine and currently holds a position of Line Operations Engineer and Assistant Supervisor. In her role, Jessica has worked as a design engineer, product manager, and in a supervisory capacity. Just a few of the key responsibilities include business proposals, environmental permitting, design drawings, supervision of contractors, procurement, and scheduling. During her time at MMA, Jess played softball and soccer. Jess holds several records in soccer, including most points in a single season and second for points, goals, and assists in a career. For her efforts, Jessica was named to the All-Conference team 3 times. Jess hails from just up the road in Orland, Maine, and currently resides in Bangor with her 4-year-old son, Mason, who's also in the audience. Say hi, Mason. In her free time, Jess enjoys teaching her little man all she knows about hunting, fishing, camping, and skiing. Jess Webb. All right, so now the important stuff. I'm going to start by asking a question, and I'm going to ask 3 panelists to answer. So our first question is going to be Christy, Kristen, and Elena. All right, y'all ready? First, can you describe briefly what you left MMA with besides a valuable diploma and or license?
My glasses on. I'm the 99 graduate. I can talk really loud.
Well, you have to try.
That's fine. I haven't been known to. Remember, I lead classes, so I'm used to yelling too. The number one thing I can tell you I left here with is confidence. I can't tell you exactly how that all came about. I took a very non-traditional career path, as you may have heard. I went from an ocean science to business. But I convinced the people who hired me right out of school that I could do their U.S. equities job, that was in the stock market job, to start off. And I convinced them that I could do their numbers and I could figure out their spreadsheets. And I had all of those skills from all the work that I had done here. So my answer to that question is confidence. And it led me through my career up through today.
Kristen.
All right, I'm going to try to talk loud, but that's not usually how I am. So I would say one of the biggest things I left with is self-discipline and a work ethic. Just coming from the ability to set goals and prioritize what I'm going to do just on a daily basis of today I'm going to feel accomplished by doing X, Y, Z, and going out and putting in hard work and getting that done. And so I think that that's something that really stemmed from training both here for soccer and schooling.
And Elena?
I was honestly going to say confidence as well, but I can actually take it in a slightly different perspective, because for me, with my undergraduate degree, I had to walk on board a ship knowing that I was going to be the only female there, and it was the backbone that my education provided me to have the knowledge base and the understanding of the systems before I got there, that I would be able to at least figure out what the equipment was and how it operated once I was able to put my eyes on it and see it. So even though I didn't know, I was willing to take that first initial leap of faith and put myself into a situation that was inherently going to be very uncomfortable, but knowing that I would be
Okay, we're going with Linda, Elena, and Lindsay. What's one thing that you're most proud of during your MMA experience?
So this isn't a plug for Coach Dagan, but playing basketball was one of the things I was really proud of, that he took a chance on me. But also I was a transfer student from Southern Maine Community College. So for me, I came into this really insecure. So I would say, even though the first question they answered confidence for me coming out, I was proud that I was more confident, leaving here. And so,
For me, I actually played sports while I was here as well. I was one of the founding players of our first volleyball team here on campus. And I started out, when I got to Maine Maritime as a freshman, it was, you're on the soccer team. And I had never actually played soccer before. And so I know many have experienced
Sounds
the
familiar,
same,
doesn't it, to some of you ladies?
situation. And I really enjoyed playing soccer for the first 2 years that I was here. And I had an opportunity to start up the volleyball team as a club. And it is a fantastic program that is still going strong. And I love watching how that program has developed with the coaches that they've had and the women that have come through that program.
I'd have to say the things I'm most proud of is I've done a lot of firsts while I was here. When I applied and got in, I had no idea that Deidre was going to start up a basketball program. And so I was one of the charter members of the team, one of the first 4-year females to play basketball here. And then getting the chief engineer's position, or the cadet chief engineer's position on the training ship. And being able to fill that role at the time was a big deal to me. So it was a lot of firsts.
I'm going to go with Leah, Jessica, and Yolanda for this next question. And again, if anybody has anything to add to any question, don't hesitate to tell me to stop when you want to add something. How did MMA prepare you for your career field, and how has your perspective changed since you've graduated?
So I felt very prepared in my career field coming out. Each employer is going to have their own systems, whether that's computer systems or their way of doing things, but the building blocks are still the same. You use the same lingo, same concepts, so I feel like I was really able to hit the ground running in my career field.
Jess?
Preparedness-wise, the wide variety of courses that my degree, that's been huge for me. Just depending day to day, it can vary what my responsibilities are, and the variety of courses that my courses, I'd say, was a big help.
Thank you. And Yolanda?
So when I started college, it was one of those things of, people had been asking me for many years, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I want to be a marine biologist, like, from the time that I went to the learning for the first time, right? And so people didn't really understand, like, what it was that entailed, and think, oh, you want to go look at SeaWorld? I'm like, no. I want to go do fisheries work. I want to be on a boat. I want to be in Alaska. Like, I want to work on fisheries. And so then, ooh, yay. So then, I got out of school and I had a great science background. There was, all the classes in biology and chemistry, learning that pragmatic approach. And got out of school, started actually doing fishery style work, and then got recruited into biotech. And at that point realized that all of, the best laid plans that you have sometimes end up taking a detour when you're provided other opportunities. And so kind of changed the focus a little bit, but ended up being able to fall back on that really solid science background and engineering background that I got while I was here.
Anybody else want to add anything to that?
I would say that I would add that the alumni part, I wasn't prepared of how strong the alumni for MMA really was. And so in the field, just knowing when I come across like renting a house from someone, they're like, oh, I graduated in '69. I'm like, wow, there's school around then. And it's the connections. Like even for my work now, I have people working on our water system that are all MMA graduates. And it's like, oh, remember when you did this? And I just feel like I wasn't prepared to how strong a network that really is and how those connections can help you move forward in your personal career.
Great. All right. Linda, Kristen, and Christy are going to answer this question. What's one thing you wish you had done or participated in at MMA that you didn't, and what would you tell your younger self now? Go ahead, Linda.
I would have to say I came in during a time when there was a transition period for the marine science, and it turned into more of a biology. And I was like, wait, I want to be more in that field. But we didn't really have a lot of boats. Like the Argo had been sold and it was contracted, so I felt like I didn't get a lot of the on-water experience that I wish I had had. And so even though that's one of the things I was like, oh, I got to go on boats, I just felt like I would have wanted to do that more while I was here. What do I tell my younger self? Let everything go. Don't be insecure. Do things. I saw people doing stuff. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go up and say something or ask for help. And I feel like that held me back quite a bit. But Coach Dagan really put me in my place a few times, so I came out a lot more confident with his pep talks. So I do actually, when I have come across other people in the field, I bring those things up of like, I really got this hard talking to, and it's really helped shape me in how I handle things.
Kristen?
So I've always thought that maintaining a balance in life is pretty crucial. School, soccer, there's always a lot of demand, so I felt like sometimes I focused in too much on the minutia of those demands and really didn't take advantage of the fact that we're at school on the water. I wish I learned how to go sailing. I did get scuba certified, but I don't even think I've been since, so taking advantage of some of those opportunities would have been something I would do more often.
And what would you tell your younger self?
To go do those things. Just not to hold back. I felt like I really kind of put blinders on in certain aspects that I was very focused on in terms of trying to achieve certain things, but kind of just loosening up a little bit and venturing outside my comfort zone.
Excellent, thank you. Christy?
As far as participation, I think probably Yolanda and Lindsay can talk about this, with the launching of a lot of the sports programs that happened during the late 90s, early 2000s. I tried everything, so I wasn't really afraid. I was terrible at basketball, and Coach can probably she can vouch for that. I really wasn't good at basketball, but soccer was my sport.
She could rebound like crazy though. She could jump out of the gym.
To this day, I'm terrible at basketball. So, but I tried it. If there was volleyball when I was here, I would have done that. I would have joined all those things. So honestly, when I was here, I really jumped on all those opportunities. If I could tell my younger self something, probably would have been to study a little harder, honestly. Truthfully. But also, don't worry if you're, we come out of here and we think we have a goal and a path, and we pursue that, and life is going to throw curveballs at you. I could have never told you 15 to 18 years ago where I would be today. I had no idea. I have my daughter who's 9 sitting here with me. I have one at home, 6, because I knew he'd be crawling the auditorium's chairs. So, you just don't know what life's going to bring, and that's okay. So work hard for your goals, but when things change, it's not a derail. It's just another opportunity to go a different direction.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add to that? Sure.
So building on what Christy said, there was a lot of first back then, obviously. But one of the things that I think that I would tell myself, back then is, don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone a little bit more. So again, super focused on taking those science classes. Took a few classes outside of my major, as electives, but really looking back, wish I had taken a few other ones, like maybe something in business and logistics, or maybe a few more of the engineering classes, just to have some versatility. And one thing that I tell other people that I talk to other people who report to me or who I meet that are students is, don't be afraid of what we call transferable skills. Look at what you have, and then when you have an opportunity in front of you, learn from that and just kind of go with it. Yeah, I screwed that. I don't know.
This is a similar question.
No, it's not.
It's, well, if you could, we're going to go with Yolanda, Elena, and Jessica for this question. If you could give one piece of advice to a young woman about to commit to Maine Maritime, or a woman currently in the audience, what would that be?
I can start. Alright, does this one work?
Yeah,
About to commit?
about to commit, yeah.
I would say make sure that you are making the choice to come to Maine Maritime for yourself, because it's what you truly want to do. Because there are a lot of influences in our lives that can sway our opinions about things, and when it comes to where you're building the foundation for your future career, it needs to be about you and what really connects to you and how you want to see yourself going forward. And so in that regard, there are a lot of great things that you can do while you're here, but if you're not here for the right reasons, you're not here for the right reasons. And so just make sure that it's right for you and whatever program that's going to end up being.
Jess?
So I think I'll kind of take the second one a little bit for the ones that are already attending. Something that I would suggest is intermingle as much as you can. I think it's really easy and common to kind of get stuck into your groups that you study with and to your routines, and the more you can branch out and get a different lab partner and find different groups to study with, that will be extremely useful to you, especially in the workforce. You're going to work with all types of people, so try not to get stuck into so many of those routines, and try and intermingle as much as you can.
Yolanda?
So I guess I have two pieces of advice, so one for one and one for the other. You can choose them as you wish. The first one is actually something that my dad said to me right when he was dropping me off, in front of the dorm, and that was, don't wait for your ship to sail in, swim up to it. And it's something that, it was a little handwritten note, I still have it on my fridge, and it just resonated with me, across the threshold into the dorm, across the past few years, across my life, across my career. And it just speaks volumes to, you just have to go out and really advocate for yourself, and, to my panelists, or co-panelists' point, to know what it is that you want and to go for it. And I guess the second piece to that is to make yourself comfortable with the uncomfortable. And specifically, you might be in front of something that you've never done before. It's going to happen throughout your entire life, throughout your entire career. And you just have to look at it and say, yeah, I don't know this, but I know enough to ask questions, and I know enough to learn something about it, and I'm going to accomplish it, and it's going to end up in my tool belt.
Anyone else? Good. All right, now sort of the antithesis of that question. We're going with Lindsay, Carrie, and Leah with this. What's one piece of advice that you would give a male student about their female peers, or a male colleague that would help those males be better classmates, shipmates, or colleagues? Lindsay?
How do I start? So we, as a panel, have discussed this one quite a bit in the last couple of hours. One thing that we've all kind of agreed on is that a lot of the male students and peers that we're seeing have a tendency to shy away from conversations, whether they be uncomfortable situations, if you're a supervisor, or having to have whether they're your supervisor or they're your subordinate, and having a conversation with them. And people have a tendency to shy away from that, whether it be for they don't know how to talk to somebody, or of the opposite sex, or that they don't want to get accused of something, whether it be an inappropriate comment or an innocent comment. We're no different conversation. It may be uncomfortable, but don't shy away from it. Have that conversation. As long as you do it in a professional manner, there's nothing that can be done. So don't shy away from uncomfortable situations just because it's uncomfortable. You're going to have those whether you're talking to a female peer or a male peer. Those conversations are going to come up. So treat it as a normal conversation and treat it professionally.
Carrie?
Yeah, hi. Looking back, I'm looking at the question, and so classmates, shipmates, and colleagues. So as a classmate for male classmates, in particular, I'm addressing Maine Maritime males here. I hope I don't really have to have that depth of conversation because I see a lot of females here, so I'm hoping that a lot of you just naturally treat each other like gender neutral. So maybe other classmates, other places, I might have to have a more in-depth conversation, but for that, I don't think. I think there's a lot of diversity, maybe compared to some of the years that we were here where there's maybe 1 or 2 females per class. I think that it's changing, and I'm really happy to see such a broad array of faces here for all the other, through all the different classes, not just IBL or ocean science, but I'm really proud to see you guys here, and I'm really happy that it's changing, because the more females we get out there, the easier it is for us, because maybe you don't see it here because you got a really small, strong network, but once you get out there, it changes, unfortunately. Like we were talking beforehand, you have this strong group, but then you branch away from such a strong support group, and maybe you are the only female of 210 people. And you just got to take that confidence that you know, and you got to work with your colleagues that are men, because most of them, if you're going to ship in the engine room or deck, unfortunately they're mostly men. So if I were to talk to my male colleagues, which I do every day because I have to, I work with them, maybe if it was just like an HR thing, I would say, don't overshadow them. Maybe your female colleagues are going to bring a different perspective to fixing that pump or to navigating the Singapore Strait. Maybe she won't do it the way that you do it, per se, but she's still going to probably do it to the respect that the pilot would want her to bring the ship in. Maybe she wouldn't do it as eloquently, or maybe she'll do it better than you, but, you know, hey, you're a team, and you need to work together, because that's bridge team management, or that's successfully getting that job done in the engine room, or even with whale research, and you're a team, and why would you fight against your team? You're only going to make it worse for everybody, especially on a ship. If you're fighting a fire, or who cares if you're a female or a male, everybody should be respected and treated the same. So,
Leah?
So, just backing off what they've said already, in the more industrial setting, of which I believe the majority of us are going into, sometimes people make assumptions, and that maybe, you know, females as well, about the knowledge that another person may have. So when you have the first interaction, don't make assumptions. You know, if anything, assume that they know to the knowledge that you do. You've probably had similar educations, and just think it would be beneficial to start off on the right foot in that way. I feel that. Get distracted by all of you. No, it's just it's sometimes hard, and I was a bit naive coming from, like they said, such a strong support system. You know, I thought that the world that we were more evolved than sometimes we are. And along with that, to pick your battles. Know when there's a situation you need to fight for yourself for, and know when it's okay to let it roll off your back. So, I would say that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, please. On this one, I would like to add that it's difficult to appreciate the position of the woman in the room. And sometimes we want to speak up and be heard as clearly as everybody else, but sometimes the environment that we're in makes that very challenging. And so for the men, colleagues, and those that are, potential allies in your network, make sure that you are being willing to listen and not speak out over the female voices in the room, and appreciate that even though, as Carrie and Leah were both touching on, we're not going to do things the same way, and that's part of the beauty of what we add to the culture of the environment that we're in. And being able to take a step back and appreciate that difference of opinion, and talking through it with them as a team member, as opposed to just either dismissing it or not even hearing it at all, is really important. Just allow yourself to sit back and listen, because it's not always easy for the woman in the room to stand up and actually put that idea out there after they've been pushed down so many times.
Thank you. Kristen, Jessica, and Yolanda will ask you to answer this question. What's the most important trait or skill that you brought to the workplace that helped you earn the respect of your coworkers?
I would say my core values and my reliability. I think things like integrity and teamwork and the desire that I have from within to produce a quality product are all skills that I started developing here at MMA, whether it was on the soccer field or in the bio lab. And they're all things that I've carried with me throughout my career and my training and into my current job. And I think it's something that is important to continue to refine as you move along throughout your development.
Jess?
I think probably for me and what I do day to day, it'd be understanding that there's many ways to get a solution. There's a lot of different ways to get the end result that you're looking for. Having an open mind and listening to all the ideas and stuff seems to be big, and that's something I took from here, that you might be working with 5 or 10 people and they might all have a different route to get there, but as long as you have the same end goal in mind, it usually works pretty good. So I'd say keeping an open mind is a pretty big trait.
Yolanda?
I'll agree with everything that they just said. I think I think if you were to ask someone on my work team or across the departments that I interact with, it's that I try really hard to empower other people on the team or in the group. It's about listening, not just hearing what somebody's saying. It's about not making assumptions. It's about not underestimating, and then making that translatable into how someone interacts with you and cultivating that relationship. So I would say probably empowering others.
Great, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Linda, Lindsay, and Carrie, please, for the next question. What is one accomplishment that you're most proud of since entering the workforce? Carrie, go ahead. You had the microphone already in your hand.
I do have both microphones. So it's probably not at all what you guys are expecting. And Deidre totally sent us some questions and then changed them around on us. So the original question was, what are you most proud of at Maine Maritime? And so obviously I was going to cop out and say my U.S. Coast Guard license. But the question has changed pretty significantly, my answer, and it's what are you most proud of since entering the workforce? And it's my son. I am so, so proud that I can have this career. It's been an amazing ride. It's been an incredible journey, and you women and men are going to love it every day. You're not going to regret a single day of your life, because this school brings you to places that you won't even expect. You're going to think that you're going to, go to SeaWorld or whatever. It's kind of a joke, but, and you're not. You're probably going to be somewhere else. You're going to be in Goji, Korea. You're going to be in China. You're going to be walking the Great Wall. And it doesn't matter if you're an Loeb Sullivan graduate or ocean science major. It's going to bring you to places that you're going to just be flabbergasted. So I have a son, and I've been shipping for 10 years, and I'm super proud. And I'm proud of my husband, I'm proud of my son. He still recognizes me when I come back, which I'm pretty surprised. Thank goodness for technology, FaceTime, email, which 10 years ago would never have existed, so unless I was on probably a Norwegian cruise line. But, I could talk about this subject for hours, so it's a good thing that we're going to dinner.
What's your shipping schedule, just so you can...
Oh, sorry, 28 and 28, thank goodness. I don't think I could do any longer without my son, because he's my heart. So, yeah, I'm really proud of my son.
Thank you. Linda and Lindsay.
Okay. So I would say, for me, it was, I knew I wanted to work with marine mammals, and again, like, people always think, I want to be a dolphin trainer, I want to do this. Even though I did dolphin training, that was not what I wanted to do. It was a cool experience, but a different subject for a different time. But I was told that I wasn't going to be able to do what I wanted to do. And that, it's not like I set out that I'm going to go start my own organization and everything, but I really... When they were like, no, you can't do that, that is very limited, you are not going to have a chance, sorry, this is the wrong person to say that to. Like, I knew exactly what I wanted, especially for the state of Maine and what was needed here. And I will say, I never thought I would be starting a nonprofit and learning all kinds of things about boards and budgets and grant writing, because I was not a writer at all. So I've really learned a lot in that sense, but I'm proud that I'm able to provide this for the state of Maine, which is something that, and continue. And we are asked to come and go down to, we recently have whale deaths on the whole northeast region from Maine to Florida. And so last week I was cutting up a humpback whale in New York, and in 2 weeks I'm headed to San Diego to go and do tagging for wildlife out there. So my job brings me to so many different places as well, and I've been in some really awkward situations for marine mammal stuff that goes on out there. So I would say one thing that I wanted to add from the previous question was something that got my foot in the door, because you don't just start going out and working and doing what you want to do, was learning how to operate a boat. And I got into doing a field study because no one else wanted to do it. And then that was like, hey, she was here, she did this. And then I was asked on the next project and the next project. And so just get your foot in the door. And I will say, if you want to go into marine mammals, it's not just that. You can do veterinary stuff, you can do pathology. We have so many different areas that, even our water quality systems. So there's a lot of different areas that work in our field that you can do.
And Lindsay, you remember the question? It's been a while. We have a really good bantering. She never listened to me when I coached either.
I got it right here, so I'm good.
Okay, thanks.
So I would say probably the thing that I'm most proud of since entering the workforce is bringing the cruise lines back to U.S. shipping. After 9/11, all the large cruise ships, most of them, they all sailed in Hawaii. American Hawaii Cruises went bankrupt. So it was in 2004 that we brought the first ship back to Hawaii. And over the course of the next 2 years, we brought a total of 3 over. And that, of course, brings not only jobs, but economy, and it's a huge thing over there.
to have, we had 3 ships. We dropped down to 1 and we sail there year round. And then since being there, getting the chief engineer's job there has been very, very good, mainly because it completely surprises everyone. Since I'm the only female in the cruise line industry, most people don't believe it. I've gone to visit friends on other ships, and they don't believe it. The engineers on the other ships, they think they're lying. They try to ask me questions. They try to stump me, and it's really funny to look at the look on their face when they realize that they're not lying. So that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of.
And again, anybody else have anything else to add to that one? Okay. Christy, Carrie, and Leah, I'm going to ask you to answer this question, but certainly again, I think everybody has something that they do for their work-life balance, so I'd love to hear a lot of opinions on this. Question is, everyone has their own vision of what work-life balance should be. How do you achieve your personal work-life balance goals? Christy?
So we discussed this a little, and when that question came up about 2 hours ago, I think all of us just burst out laughing. We probably do have a vision, and at the end of the day, it's like a messed up bubble of work-life balance is something that, I guess you try to achieve or you strive for, but there is no magic wand. I go to work in the morning, I go home in the evening and run a business. I have 2 children, my husband ships, so yes, she's sitting right there. So I guess the balance is, the biggest piece I have learned, and this has come really in the last probably 2 or 3 years, is to be present and live more in the moment. There's a lot of times I find myself getting caught up of, okay, plan for tomorrow, plan for the next day, and I'm losing the sense of the moment, and maybe it's because I have children and they're growing up so fast, and you learn time once you have those little people in your life, how fast it can go. So I can't give you advice on work-life balance because I'm probably not the best at it. I can tell you what my experiences are every day, and some days are crazy, and other days I am spot on and I make it look good. Other days, I'm glad I run a mixed martial arts gym and I have punching bags because it's a good, real strong outlet. And I know we can give you tips and probably provide advice all day long, but it's going to come down to you, and the best thing I can tell you is to be present. And what that means is live in the moment. Yes, you'll have plans, and yes, you'll prepare, but don't lose sight of what's going on today.
I totally second Christy, because it's hard to really tell somebody that isn't involved, it isn't submerged in the crazy of having children. So my life balance is going to be different from others, but it's hard, and you just got to focus on one goal, and then coming out of the academy, one goal that you're very happy with, that you know that's going to make you yourself, that's going to propel you towards your dreams, to your career, and then from there, branch out. You like yoga, you like to run marathons, focus on that, because if you don't have that balance with your work and your life, then if you happen to meet a guy or a girl and you want to start a family and you're not happy with yourself, it's never going to work. It's not going to work with your career. It's not going to work with your relationship. So you've got to, basically what I'm trying to say is make yourself happy. And then from there, you're going to meet people that are going to make you flourish. They're going to help you grow. They're going to help you become a better person. And from there, you're going to help other people. So really, the work-life balance is going to be determined by you and how you present yourself in both life and your career. So,
Leah?
So I fully agree with them. I don't have kids, but I have fur babies, and they exhaust me. But I would say I know some people who, they live to work. instead of working to live. And for me, is if I'm not on call and I'm out that door, I leave everything at work. You know, when I first started, it was running in my head, just constantly in the back. What do I have left to do? What do I need to get done? But there's nothing you can do about it once you're home. So leave it at the door and start your nightlife. Another thing I would say is, you know, get your hobbies. If you play a sport, find, you know, a local league that they have the adult league for. I know that when I was here, everything was very structured as far as, you know, you have classes this time, and then you have practice at this and this time, and then you study. But when you have your night to do whatever, it's, you know, what am I going to do now? So really kind of give yourself some sort of routine, a structure, or, you know, something that's going to allow you to relax outside of work. I think is a big one. But they had said, you know, make sure every part of yourself is happy, and because if you're not happy with yourself, it's going to affect your professional life as well. So whether that be, you know, physically or in any other aspect of your life, make sure that you're good yourself before improving other parts of your life.
Anybody else want to add anything?
For me, it would be enjoy the career that you're pursuing, but don't be afraid to make a big change. Because I was pretty new into my career, and I transitioned from a shipping position to a shoreside position. And that shoreside position quickly turned into almost a 24/7 commitment when I was making day trips to LA Long Beach to inspect a ship for the day, and then taking a red-eye back, and it would always happen on a Saturday. And so my entire weekend would be consumed, and even while I was traveling, my phone was ringing nonstop. And it got to the point where I had really great experiences. I was spending months in China and having a really fantastic career direction, but I was losing out on having the opportunity to spend time with my family and my friends. And for me, it wasn't an easy choice, but I proactively made the choice to stop and take a break, and I went back to grad school. And after that, I completely changed industries. I went from maritime to pulp and paper, and it was more in a business logistics standpoint. And for me, I still have that core that I got from my undergraduate, but what I did during my graduate program has really propelled me where I want to go for the rest of my life. And for me, having the confidence and the trust of myself to make that big change has definitely made my life balance a lot better for myself and for my family.
Oh, man, jeez. So one of the things with my job is that I'm on call 24/7. So yes, a whale could strand in the middle of the night and I have to go. And it can be tough at sometimes because I have to leave a lot of family events or things going on and miss important things in life because this is what I've focused on and dedicated my life to. I would say for you guys to find a mentor. Especially with the alumni here, find someone that you can talk to, especially in the field that you want to, so that you have someone to talk to of how, hey, I want to get to this place, or I want to, once I graduate, I want to kind of look into this. But have someone that you can talk to just bounce things off from for your career to move you forward. Just because I think it's something that helps me. I've had a few people that I know, and they've seen me through some really yucky times and seen the worst of me too, and they have stuck right by me, and it's someone that doesn't judge you, which is something I feel is important as you gain your confidence in what you want to do.
Yeah, please.
So I can't agree more with the rest of the panelists that has spoken. Again, I'm kind of in between, I guess, so I have a job that doesn't necessarily require 24/7, but having to deal with regulators, having to deal with patients, not meaning to make that sound negative, but dealing with patients all over the world, dealing with contract organizations in different time zones, you know, there is that always on call situation, right? So for me, work-life balance has always been a struggle. It's part of my personality that it's a struggle because I'm kind of ADHD half the time. And so I think the best thing that I've done for myself is I figured out what my internal drive was. Like, what is it that made me passionate about the line of work that I wanted to do? And, you know, what made me want to get up and pick up the phone or attend a meeting that was happening, you know, at whatever time when someone was halfway around the world. And I think that that's a really big piece of it is what's your driver. And it's not just your career driver, but it's what's your personal life driver. You know, some people eventually like to focus on their children, and that's absolutely amazing. You know, other people like to focus on their whatever. And so just figure that out for yourself, and then don't be apologetic about it. You know, take care of yourself. Like, don't be selfish. But, you know, it's okay to say to somebody, hey, you know what? I need a couple of hours to go introvert, and I'm going to go get myself in my cocoon and comfy, and because I need to do this for myself, right? You know, and so don't be apologetic about it. If you are not taking care of yourself, then something else is going to fall off later on.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to you all. If you have a question, just stand up and yell it out. And if it's specifically for somebody, let us know that. Otherwise, if you just want to open it, you know, to the whole panel, that'd be great too. So, who has a question? Come on. Yeah, go ahead. Can you start by telling the panel who you are, and what major you are, and what year you are? If that would be great, I'd appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Yolanda.
I'm Savannah Frank. I'm doing bio and small vessel operations. I also play soccer too. Sorry. That's my third year. I guess, I don't know, I skipped this semester because I was doing National Guard training, so I'm like sophomore, junior. I'm kind of sure to see how it goes, and I'm still here. And I think that's all. Right.
Great. Now your question. Thank you.
Okay. So my question is, like, well, how did you feel? What did you do once you got your degree? Like, was that transition to the workforce easy or was it tough? And also, what was your position in the respective sports that you played?
Go ahead.
I was goalie for soccer and basketball, horrible, so I was position horrible.
She was not that horrible. Come on. Honestly.
So my transition was actually pretty easy. I'm going to back up a long time ago here and say, when I came here because I was extremely passionate about ocean science at that time, and that's really where I just loved everything about it. When I was ready to graduate, I realized I had no idea what I wanted to do. Everyone was pursuing graduate school or going to be teachers, and I looked around and said, I don't want to do any of that. So, and I had to come to terms with it was okay. That was okay. So my kind of non-traditional career path has really led up to where I am today. And I found my niche in business and HR. And it was, I say by chance, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe I took those paths and those curveballs that were thrown to me, I stepped up to that plate. For me, I returned back to the Boston area, went into Boston, and as a young person in Boston, which is a great city for opportunity, I just kind of pounded the pavement and started talking to people, and you know, and like I mentioned earlier, and then I applied for a job, and he literally said to me, "You have a science degree, and I'm looking for someone in a business equities role. Why could you do this?" And I said, "You teach me what you need me to know about the U.S. equities market. I will be your number cruncher. I will prove to you." And he said, "Okay." You know, he took a chance. So it was that confidence, and did I know what I was getting myself into? Absolutely not. But I was going to figure it out, and that's really what I went into it with. And that was, for me, my kind of entryway to what opens.
Anyone else want to jump on that question?
I guess I don't have a whole lot to add because Christy just put a lot on the table there, but I just want to emphasize confidence, basically. Confidence, confidence, confidence. If you don't have any experience with that employer or in that industry, you need to project that you will 100%
Sophia?
You guys already know my name. I am 9 years old. I'm in 3rd grade, a long time away from college. And what is the degree?
What is a degree?
Who's gonna answer that question?
So, Sophia, a degree is when you have proven your academic record over 4 years or additional 2 years. It depends on if you're going for a bachelor's, which is 4 years, a graduate, which is 2, doctorate can be additional years after that. So it's levels of education.
You're hired.
She's got that confidence, yeah.
Question. Who else has a question?
Deirdre?
Yes.
Can I add one thing to
Please.
your question earlier? So I'm going to be quite honest with you, I had a panic moment. Like, graduated, had the diploma in my hand, went home with my mom and dad, got to the house and was like, oh poo. What do I do now? Because like Christy, I was like, okay, well, this is what I wanted to do, but is there really a job? So I did not have that confidence when I got out of school. I definitely had some soul searching, landed a job, and then from there built on. And I think one of the best things that you have in your pocket right now is you already have a network built. You might not realize that, but you do, and it's called the Alumnae. And so it's get on LinkedIn and start reaching out to people, in previous classes from you. Reach out to us, ask questions of your professors. I think it was Linda that mentioned about getting a mentor. Absolutely get a mentor, someone who has thinking that is aligned with yours, but that will also challenge you. You definitely want the no judgment, but you want that person to also challenge your thoughts and your thought process. So yeah, it's going to take work. It's going to take a while sometimes before you find that confidence. There are going to be days that you're going to sit there and be like, am I really good enough that I can do this job that I'm in? And at the end of the day, the answer is yes. And you just have to rely on your network.
I have a question that was asked by a student in email, so I don't, maybe whoever asked that question is in the audience, but interestingly enough, the 2 panelists that have the master's degree from Maine Maritime were both regimental students. So can you guys talk about why you chose to get a master's in business and just what that thought process was?
So my undergraduate degree was the marine engineering operations degree, and am I not loud enough? Sorry. When I transitioned to a shoreside position, I was actively pursuing advancement in my career, and I got to a point where in the company that I was working with, we had an interesting relationship with the owners of the ships that we managed, and I was in a assistant superintendent position, which was it was a really good position. I really enjoyed what I was doing, but I became too valuable for that company in the position that I was in, and I was not going to be able to move up the way that I wanted to. So I did a really bit of soul searching for myself to decide, what was it that I really wanted to do, and looking at a variety of master's programs that were available at the time through other state maritime academies, as well as other more traditional universities. And for me, it was, I needed a stronger business foundation, and the logistics focus is what really drew me in. I had been doing all of the functions, but I didn't have the expertise, and I didn't have the degree behind my name and on my resume that was going to allow me to move up into more managerial positions. And like everybody has said here, you tend to get curveballs, and I had anticipated going out and working with my master's degree for a long period of time in in a situation where my husband ships. And so I was a solo parent for over half the year. And international paper had basically said, we need to promote you and we need you to go to these places. And they didn't have accessible childcare. And it wasn't going to be a good fit for my family. And so I had the fortune of being able to come back to Maine Maritime. But without that degree, without coming back for my master's degree, that wouldn't have been an option either.
Unlike Elena, I decided to do the master's degree directly out of college. Also, I think they had a reduced tuition deal, so why? I got cold feet. Marine transportation is pretty daunting, and I didn't know, I guess I followed my heart. I didn't really know which direction I wanted to go. I knew that I wanted to travel, I wanted to make a lot of money, but I didn't really know what direction I wanted to go. Cadet shipping, it was a great opportunity. I learned an incredible wealth of knowledge, but it scared me to death. It scared me. I unfortunately lost a classmate of mine in a car accident, and I was not able to go to their funeral, which really affected me hard. And that time I was gone, I missed a lot of things. And that was like, I think 100 days cadet shipping. So I really, when I graduated, I knew I wanted to ship, but I didn't really know where I wanted to go. So I just took a step back, thought to myself, if I boost my resume a little bit, get a little bit of a business background, because business is just so all-inclusive. It's with you wherever you go. Your bookkeeping, because everybody knows the reds and the blacks. Everybody wants to stay out of the red. It's only going to give you a better grasp on everything, not just business, your business or your work, but also what you do with your credit card, who you pay rent to, or whether you buy a multi-unit or a house. It's going to help you. So I said to myself, yes, I'm going to go a little bit more into debt, but it's just student loans, right? But it's going to make my resume better. So I guess that's why I decided to do the Loeb Sullivan School of Business, because I knew it was only going to make me more marketable to others. Even though I'm not really using it at all, shipping, it does help me in my day-to-day life. So yeah, that's why.
You have a question from the crowd? Yes.
Who you are, you do?
You
don't need that.
So I'm Kylie Bradley. I'm senior in the Marine Engineering Technology program. I'm actually on the flight school after this, hopefully, and I'm on the soccer team. My question is, what's your favorite memory of being there?
Her comment was, can we say it in this setting? What's your most appropriate memory? How's that?
I really enjoyed, I know this sounds messed up, but I really enjoyed studying and passing my U.S. Coast Guard test. It was an amazing memory. I mean, I don't know if you're there yet, but it's, and you know, it's just incredible. Just the feeling that you accomplished what you accomplished in that 4 years. I was talking to Deidre earlier, and you don't realize it, but Maine Maritime puts little pellets in your, you don't realize, but it's getting in there. And then when you're sitting there and you're testing, I know that. Oh, wow. I know that. I didn't just memorize the answer. Actually, I do know that. And then you'll realize it, but when you get to where you are, pilot, flight school, anywhere, you're going to realize that the smallest things that you think that you weren't really learning in your classes with your professors, it's in there. And it's the magic of Maine Maritime is their curriculum, you don't even realize you're learning, it's just coming to you. So it's incredible.
So for me, for me, it was the amount of time that I got to spend on the water and that we got to spend on the water. I think Christy and I were super fortunate that, especially getting to do, we had this 4-credit and 4-week marine biology class where every day we were out collecting samples and then we were on the bank and just having this great time. And some of my best memories and some of my absolute favorite moments were when we were freezing our butts off, like on the Argo, when it was in the middle of the night and we were doing watch and there was a storm and, you know, you had the waves coming up over the bow. But it was just a great time, and those memories are absolutely some of my favorites.
I'd have to say the friendships I made. I've still got, everybody here can probably attest to it. Out of the whole classes, the number of people in your class, and yes, when you graduate, people are gonna go their separate directions, but you're gonna have certain people that you still keep in contact with. I have 3 or 4 people that I not only graduated with, but either graduated before me or after I did, that I still keep in contact with, and I'm still friends with, and we still get together on occasion. And yes, it may not be as often as we like, but we still have those memories, we still get together, we still have those friendships. And you had them when we were here, and then after we graduated, you know, we're still making memories. So I'd say the friendships are probably the thing that I took away from here.
Question from the crowd? Anyone?
Hi, my name is Greg Fryer. I've been a trustee for about 2 years now, so I can't take credit for any of you. But I'm so proud of you. You're all amazing. My question for you is, what are a couple of things that Maine Maritime can do to ensure that there are even more of you in the future?
All right, I guess I'll lead off. I think that's a fantastic question, and thank you for asking that. I think it's super important. I'm very fortunate that I get to work with a couple of other colleges in the Boston area on programs like, you know, trying to get additional both female students, minority students, or just any students in STEM. And honestly, the biggest thing is outreach. You know, have more panels like this, have open sessions for students where not only are they interacting with alumni for jobs, but also for that very important mentorship piece and for that networking piece. You know, just make those resources available. And then on top of that, like the curriculum and the class schedule is fantastic here. The descriptions that I went online and I looked at are amazing. You know, have some symposiums or maybe some intro classes on actual industry, because you can learn things in the class, you can learn them on the bench, you can learn them in the lab, and then you go out and you've got the theory in your head, but you don't necessarily always get that practical. So, you know, stressing the co-ops, stressing the internships, not just for some of the engineering, but for some of, you know, the bio and some of the sciences, things like that. I think that goes a long, long way.
To follow on that, I would definitely say internships are really valuable. I did 3 separate ones when I was here, and 2 of them ultimately shaped my decision to go into biomedical research and do grad school. But I think it was something that my marine bio professors helped me achieve in terms of, you know, helping me with recommendations or making connections, but it's not built into our program, or at least it wasn't when I was here. So I had to very actively go out and look at what I could do for a summer to get hands-on experience that was outside of the classroom. And I think it's more built into some of the engineering programs for sure.
I think that in particular for women, maybe like some of the other women touched on, is probably try to reach out more to the women graduates, the alumni group, because I'm sure that of the women that I went to school with in my class, I think that they would all really enjoy doing this type of panel. But maybe we, as the panel, can think of other opportunities, not just a panel of women, but maybe more one-on-one, because I know some of these women will probably go and probably never see us again. So maybe try to find more one-on-one opportunities for women that maybe want to have a more personal approach to one of us or all of us, or you know, something that they can take forward. Maybe, I mean, I'm hoping they're going to take forward what we're saying, but maybe a more personal approach, I guess. Maybe we can all come up with something.
I'll just throw out there, I know usually when people ask, you know, where did your school, you say Maine Maritime, and say, are you military? No. And then the next question is, did you have to wear the uniform? No. So I know that it actually, a couple of my friends are like, oh, I didn't go there because I thought that was the case. So I don't know if maybe putting a little more education on some of the other majors and opportunities out there might help as well.
I think that anytime we have the opportunity to emphasize how accessible industry becomes once you come through Maine Maritime, our alumni network is absolutely fantastic. And if you know about Maine Maritime, you know about Maine Maritime. And for the female population here, it's really important for us that we have the ability to maintain a feedback loop and make sure that the things that are valuable for us are being fostered and developed upon. And we aren't saying that we want individual programs for us, but there are certain programs that are a little bit more accessible, and maintaining the ability to have high expectations and standards for all of our programs, and also having inclusion and diversity really does help us develop overall better workforce individuals. And so being able to have the female population that we do, and for me, there's certainly more females on campus now than there ever had been. And I think it's one of the things where we want to maintain the strong female presence, but we don't want to lose sight of, you know, maintaining our hands-on, our practical, and we're all sort of examples of how we can develop that. But we need to make sure when the students are coming here for open houses, they see examples too, that they're here on campus all the time, not just necessarily when we are having a specific celebration of women's history and having a panel like this.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Brodsky, and I'm also one of the trustees here, and this is really exciting to see you all and to hear of your great successes. So I have a question that relates back to something that somebody said earlier about the fact that you had very good mentors here. And I'd like, it's sort of a two-part question. Could you speak to the mentors that you had, why they were good, and how you found them? Because mentors don't find mentees. Mentees need to find mentors. And that's something that I don't think a lot of women appreciate enough. So you can speak to that a little bit. And then the second part of that question is, would you all consider being a mentor to any one of the women here? Because I think that you're here and, you know, it could just be an email exchange, but sometimes, you know, a quick email exchange between you and a student could just blast doors down. So I'm just curious if you could speak to that.
My door is open anytime. I want to be able to give back, because having that relationship kind of just fell into place, that I cried on someone's shoulder that day, and it was a tough day, and then it just kind of evolved from there, that person took me on to try to build my confidence, to make sure that I could do it, and now I can come back, and one of those people have recently passed, and so I have kind of given, say, hey, I'll do whatever anybody needs for what they need to be there for, to help and guide them. we have had a few students over the last few years from Maine Maritime that have interned with our organization, and I actually continue to still keep in contact with them and been impressed by what they continue to do. So I think that I think all of us could probably say that we, send them our way.
I'm certainly happy to talk to anyone, especially if you find yourself kind of following or pursuing a little bit more non-traditional path. I think it was a year ago, I was here in the audience with a friend who was on the panel. I said, no, I'm not going to be on your panel because I'm not in the traditional path. It took a year, I think, of Deirdre to say that's quite okay. And for me to rethink everything and realize that it is okay. Where I've come to today, that's perfectly fine, and it's positive just like as everyone else. So if you're finding that you may want to go a different path, that's okay. You can reach out to me as well. I can certainly give you advice or encouragement to take that leap, or give you some advice from where I went wrong or where I went right. And it certainly can help it, or hopefully help you make a decision for what's right for you.
So I think what you asked was a very important and such a relevant question in terms of, how do you go about finding a mentor? I wish that it was a conversation that someone sat down with me and had, because it's actually a difficult conversation to have, right? It takes a little bit of self-reflection. It's okay, well, kind of in a place that I'm not really sure where to go, or I'm just having a really bad time and I need something to help out, right? So the way that I went about finding my mentor was I sat down and I thought of all of the people that I had interacted with both in my academic life as well as in my career, and actually made a list of what attributes I thought that made them successful in their role, whatever that role happened to be. And after I sat down and made that list, I looked at it and I said, well, what attributes are the most important to me personally? Again, going back to that conversation that I alluded to about, like, what's your personal driver, right? And so after that, I came up with a couple of people that I trusted, not just on a personal level, but also that I had a lot of respect for in industry. And I reached out to them. I picked up the phone, or actually in one case, I walked into her office and I said, I don't know if you have time to do this because I know it's a commitment on both of our side, but here's why I think that you would be a good fit for me. Would you mind mentoring me? Can we set up, some time once a quarter or whenever you can, and let's have a coffee, and can we just talk? And sometimes people will say no, because it is, again, it's a commitment that someone is making to you and that you're making to them. But more times than not, people are going to want to help you. And so that's, that I think for me was how I really ended up with some fabulous people in my corner. In terms of, cultivating that relationship with someone else, absolutely. I have business cards with me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm sure that other people are too. I was saying to you earlier, like, don't hesitate to reach out. Use us as part of your network. It's the same for all of you. And yeah, just keep on cultivating those relationships with anybody that you meet.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the questions. It's getting to be about that time, and I know there's so much more that I would like to hear from these women, but we're going to kind of cut it at this point. Certainly, they'll be up here for a few minutes if anybody wants to come and exchange an email or that kind of thing, and I will make sure to ask all of them if I may share their emails with you if you have any questions that you'd like to get to them later. So a couple things just to wrap up. One thing that we found out today, I asked them to come as early as they were able to do, and we actually just hung out in the waypoint and sat in a circle and talked. And sort of one of the unintended, not really a consequence, because consequence sounds bad, but an unintended positive thing that has come out of doing this the last 2 years is they were amazed by each other. They're like, wow, you're doing what? And so just the opportunity for them to get back together, and some of them are close in graduation years and some are not, but they are unbelievably proud of each other, and making those connections, and I know that they'll walk out of here and have more connections than they did when they came in. So I encourage you to think about that, and at some point we'll be asking all of you to come back and do this too. I actually had a student ask me a couple days ago, how do you get on that panel? And I was like, yeah, she's thinking. So again, thank you so much. We have if the students that are going to join us for dinner could come forward. We have little gift bags for all of our presenters, so if you guys could come forward and present those, that'd be great. Thank you all so much for coming. And Jen, do we have any photo op by any chance? Oh, okay, good. Okay, thanks. Thank you all so much. One last hand for our panelists.